And now this is the time to sum everything up, to bring the meditation retreat to a beautiful conclusion. We always start these meditation retreats with a talk, just to get people started. But also you have to finish off these meditation retreats with a talk. Especially the question which everybody asks at this time is, how do I put all these practices into use in your daily life? Is this just something separate from your life with your family in the office in the world? Or is it somehow part of life? And even during the interview times, I made a few comments about this, especially this morning. And sometimes people, especially people coming on a retreat, sometimes have some confusion. They think, oh, when I get back home and when I go to work, should I just let go? When I go and do my business, should I say, no, I won't chase the money, let the money chase me? Just say, the door of my bank account is open to whatever money comes in and whatever money goes out. But sometimes we confuse things. Sometimes when we are meditating, we do business, and sometimes when we do business, we do letting go. That's why we never succeed at anything. We have to know the right time for the right thing to do. And I think you remember one of those stories I told you earlier about the man being chased by the tiger, jumping into the pit, tiger above him, a snake underneath. When there's nothing to do, that's the time to do nothing, to learn how to relax, to be at peace. When there's a time to do something, when the tiger's jumped into the pit and killed itself and crushed the snake to death, that's when you put forth effort to climb out. So much of our life is like learning how to rest when it's time to rest, learning how to work when it's time to work. I'm not a hypocrite. I work very hard as a monk, but it's also when it's time to rest, I can really rest and relax. So this is actually how I live my life. This is how I teach this life to others. So that in your business, in your world, you can be successful. What you've learnt in this retreat, if you understand it and put it into proper practice, is very useful for your life. If you're in a family life or in a business, sometimes it can be very stressful. Especially in business. You have to work so hard. The competition is so great. Or if you're studying, again the competition is great. But because I learned how to meditate when I was studying, my meditation really worked for me. Many of you may have heard this story before, but I'll tell it because it shows how meditation helped me pass my final exams and do very well. In those days at Cambridge University, I was doing my finals in theoretical physics. All of the work you've done over the last 3 years counted for absolutely nothing. Everything was down to one final set of exams. It was 6 days, the exam period, with a 3-hour exam in the morning, 1 hour for lunch, and a 3-hour exam in the afternoon. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. These days you wouldn't think of doing things like that. It was torture. And that's what you call stress, when all of the people are telling you, this is your final exams, this is your degree, pass or fail, it's 6 days. If you blow it and mess up, that's 3 whole years, completely wasted. This is important. So they really put on a lot of stress. Now, I think to myself, if only I would have realized at the time that I would eventually become a monk, I wouldn't have needed to worry so much. But I didn't know that at the time, so I had to work very hard. But my advantage over my fellow students was this. After the morning exam every day, when we all had 1 hour for lunch, I never had any lunch. Instead of having lunch, I go back to my room. It took me 5 or 10 minutes to get back from the examination room to my college, get into my room. For every lunch time, I didn't have anything to eat, except I just sat down and meditated for half an hour. It was a brilliant strategy. And this is what happened. As soon as I sat down on my meditation cushion in my room in college, As soon as I started just to relax, the first thing which came up into my mind was the morning exam. I started thinking about what I'd done, whether I'd answered the question correctly or not. Now, because I'd been to meditation retreats like this one, I'd been told and I'd understood the past is gone. You cannot change those examination papers now. Right or wrong is too late. It's a waste of time worrying about it. I let go of the past. So the next thing which came up into my mind after let going of the morning examination was the afternoon exam. And I started worrying about this important exam which was coming in maybe only 45 minutes' time. And I thought, should I get those books out, get out my notes and do some more revision? But one thing I'd learned from experience is not just the future is uncertain, but I don't know if it's happened to you, but it always happened to me. Whatever I looked at the last minute never came up in the exam paper, never once. I'd wasted so much time, just the hour or two before the examinations of my life, thinking that this will come up, revising it, memorizing it, and it didn't come up at all. What a waste of time. So, realizing the afternoon examination was completely uncertain, I let go of the future. It was a waste of time worrying about it. And more importantly, I remembered what this period was called. It was called lunch hour, rest hour. In that 1 hour, you're not supposed to be doing examinations. You're not supposed to be doing the morning exam and the afternoon exam at the same time in your lunch hour. But that's what I was doing, and I remembered the past and just went off into the future. Because I'd learned this meditation practice, I could let go of both pretty easily. Now for you, the morning exam, the afternoon examination may not be university examinations in theoretical physics. It might be another client who's coming later on this afternoon. It may be something your boss said this morning. It's the tests and examinations of your life. How often do we carry around those tests we've already completed, worry about them, think about them, what we said, I've only said it differently. How often do we take the afternoon examinations, the tests and examinations as trials of our future and worry about them, and it's never as we think it's going to be. We waste so much time and mental energy. When it was university exams, I didn't have time. I couldn't afford to waste that energy. So very easily I came into the beautiful present moment. However, once I let go of the past and the future, which for me was the morning and afternoon examinations, I came to the present moment. I received a very big surprise. When I started becoming present, becoming mindful, I noticed my body was shaking. I never thought of myself as a nervous person. And I could obviously appreciate that this was a special situation. Final examinations at the end of your university career. It was understandable that I was nervous and shaking. But what really surprised me was I hadn't noticed it. It's really strange that you don't notice what your body is doing. Other people might, but you don't, because you're never really here to look at it. When I realized my body was shaking, when mindfulness came into the present moment and saw that, it was very easy just to calm the body down, just to relax it. It's amazing that when you see what the problem is, it's very easy, usually, to solve it. Most problems are unsolvable because we don't really see them. It's like the person who's crazy. I remember reading this book about this person who was in a madhouse, and his best friend came to see him one day and said, "You're crazy, you're mad." All the doctors and the nurses have been telling him this for a long time. But it was because his best friend told him, because he actually believed his best friend. He realized, my goodness, I am the same as everybody else in this room. He realized he was mad and crazy. And because of that, he started getting better. It was the acknowledgement of the truth was the first phase in healing the problem. Acknowledgement, truthfulness. So what's happening for me when I realized I was nervous, when I could see that I could do something about it, and it didn't take long to calm myself down. And when that body had calmed down and the body had sort of disappeared, the next thing which I noticed in the present moment was just how tired I was. I was mentally exhausted. And of course that was understandable too, because you'd just been working very hard, staying up late at night revising, doing all of this hard mental exercise of a final examination, a 3-hour paper. And of course I was exhausted. But again, the surprise was I hadn't noticed that. When you don't look, you don't see. From that experience, I know why many diseases and sicknesses happen. Many people are mentally exhausted. They're not brain dead, but they're pretty close to it. Simply because you've been struggling so hard in your work, in your family, sometimes even in meditation. Because of that struggle, which is so tired. And we didn't notice that. Because when you first came on this retreat, many of you for the first 2 or 3 days slept. And that was done on purpose, that I allowed you to do that, because I recognized just how mentally tired many of you were. If you carry on with that mental tiredness, you will get sick, mentally and physically. Many people have depressions these days, anxiety attacks, cancers, high blood pressure, you name it. That is the stress which causes it. At the time, I called it, I was out of brain juice. The juice from my brain had all been squeezed out in the morning examination. I was tired, and you could feel that. You could know what it felt like. Ugh. But the amazing thing was, as soon as I saw that, as soon as I recognized that, paid attention to it, I could feel the energies going back into the brain. I started basically waking up. The more peaceful I was, the more the energies flowed back into the brain. And it was a wonderful experience. Only 30 minutes every lunch hour was all it needed. Because at the end of those 30 minutes, I was relaxed, and I was bright as a button, refreshed. And my friends told me at the time that I was the only student who went into the examination room in the afternoon with a smile on their face. They thought I was cheating. I was in a way, but according to the rules, because I learned examination technique, how to relax, how to really relax. There was no physical strain from nervousness, how to relax my brain so I got the energies back again, so I could really perform well. And that's how I teach people to perform, not just at university or at school, but in business, in life. So often in your business you are mentally tired. You're so stressed with all those things you have to do that you make too many mistakes at business. You miss opportunities. You spend too much time getting grumpy at your workers, having office politics, arguing, or not maybe with your mouth, but argue inside of yourself, when you could be looking for business opportunities. We waste too much time. So because of that, many people I teach how to relax, to spend some time of every day meditating in the office. There's one of, not my students, but a person I really respect, who is a lawyer in New York, a criminal lawyer. As many of you know, in the US, the penalties for crimes are very severe. You can go to jail for, 3 or 4 lifetimes, say 300 years or 400 years. And they have the death penalty as well. So imagine you are defending somebody who's done a crime. If you make a mistake, they're dead. It's a very stressful profession, criminal law in the States. So, this particular lawyer had a way of dealing with the stress. He told one day he found a cupboard in his office. Together with his secretary, they cleaned out the cupboard from all the papers. They put them in some filing cabinet or somewhere else. So he had an empty cupboard. And from that time on, every day, for half an hour around lunchtime, he goes into his cupboard crosses his legs, meditates, while his secretary turns the key and locks him in. Every day he's locked in his cupboard, in his meditation cupboard, for 30 minutes. And if ever the telephone rings or any person comes to visit to call on him, I'm sorry, he's in his cupboard, says the secretary. He needs to do that in order to find space to meditate for 30 minutes. Even though it's a high pressure job, he does that to be able to take the high pressure. He does that because he knows the half an hour he spends in his cupboard being peaceful, away from the fax machine, the SMS messages, the hand phones, everything, that if he spends that half an hour in his cupboard, he makes up that time very quickly in the afternoon with greater efficiency. He does not make so many mistakes. And his secretary is more than willing to lock him away for half an hour, simply because if she doesn't do that, because of his stress, he's such a grumpy, angry, arrogant man in the afternoon. Like many bosses can be, not because of their character, but more because of the stress they had to deal with. It's a win-win situation for all parties, for the people he represents in the courts, for the secretary and for him. It's a way we deal with the stress of life. So it's not as if we can't find the time to meditate. We cannot afford not to take the time to meditate if you want to be efficient and successful in life. There's an old saying that there's not much time, therefore I must go slowly. It's a beautiful saying. There's not much time, therefore I must go slowly. If you had all the time in the world, you could rush, you could afford to make mistakes. When there's no time, you've got to walk slowly. I remember years ago we were doing some blasting at our monastery to try and get rid of some cat rock to build one of our buildings. We helped with the engineer who had the explosives license. He often told us, he said, look, when we put the explosives in, we put the detonator in and we light it, you should never run. If you start running, that's always the most dangerous thing to do. People fall down, and that's where they get injured. In an emergency, he said, you must walk carefully, not run. And it was similar to that saying. When there's not much time, you have to go slowly, because you have to be careful. Now you can maybe understand why people make so many mistakes. When we're rushing, we're not careful, we make mistakes, and we spend so much time mending those mistakes. So that's why we practice this meditation in our daily life. If you haven't got a cupboard, get a corner of your room. If not a corner of the room, find some place in the office block or in the house, any place where you can just sit quiet and still, even if it's in the toilet. You can put the sign on, engaged. Have you ever heard the phrase engaged Buddhism? That's what it means. People meditating in the toilets. Engaged, it's called engaged Buddhism. That's only a joke. But you can always find, this one fellow I heard about, he finds it very hard again to find time. So every hour on the hour at his desk, he closes his eyes for 1 minute. People who are his secretaries, people walking by think, oh, he must be thinking about something. He never thinks, he just goes into silent, present moment awareness with the breath. He gets very peaceful very quickly, just for 1 minute. That's all he can afford, to really let go. So every minute, 1 minute out of 60, he meditates throughout the day. No one knows that. So you can get away with that in your office without any problem whatsoever. No one knows what you're doing, unless they come here and listen to Ajahn Brahm before. But what it does, he collects his mind. He recollects, he's peaceful, he's calm, which means the next 59 minutes he's focused, energized, he doesn't make so many mistakes. It was, who was it? there's a French philosopher, I can't think of his name, it's not Descartes, it's Pascal, Louis Pascal, who said that all the troubles of, this was in the 17th century, all the troubles of man come from his not knowing how to sit still. The 17th century French Catholic philosopher and mathematician. All the troubles of man come from his not knowing how to sit still. And that's Buddhist, right down the line. Most of your troubles come from not knowing how to sit still. If you just learn how to sit still and make your mind peaceful, your business would go well. You would know how to be mindful, how to care. There's this beautiful story I've been telling people during the interviews, which runs my life, which is in my book, which I've told many times before, but this is one powerful story about how to practice Buddhism, Dhamma, meditation in your daily life. The Emperor's 3 questions. What's the most important time? Now. Who's the most important person? You don't know this one, that's wrong. You are not the most important person. The person you're with, yeah. Now that's really, really important. So that when I'm sitting in there in that interview room and someone comes up to me, I always remember that. It's almost second nature now. When you're sitting in front of me, hopefully you've recognized I'm giving you 100% full attention. When you're in front of me, as far as I'm concerned, you are the only person in the world. And I fully focus. And the most important thing to do is to care. Being caring, being careful. The Emperor's 3 questions, you can use that as your motto for your company, for your family, for your life. Now is the most important time. So in your business, now's the time to do it. Don't wait till tomorrow. If you're with a client, make sure that you really think that they are the most important person in the world, and they will feel it. They will know that you're a business which cares about them. Not only that, because you're caring for them, because they're the most important person, you listen to them. You understand what they're saying. So often we miss opportunities in business because we don't know our customers' needs. You've got to listen carefully to get those needs. And if you're with your employee, and you say they're the most important person in the world, that employee will work for you even harder. On the wall in my hut, I've got a little article which was in the, I think, British Institute of Engineering magazine. They were giving the awards for the best engineering companies. The company which won the award that year was a company which banned overtime. Absolutely refused anyone to do more than, I think, 45 hours a week was the max. And they found, because of that, they had hardly any staff turnover. All the staff stayed. All the staff didn't hardly take much sick leave at all. They worked even harder, they were more efficient, because if the company cared for them, they were going to care for that company. The profits doubled. Do you understand sort of economics? That makes so much sense. A company is the people who work for it. It's not just the boss. It's not just the product you sell. It's how you sell it. And if your people who are working for you are really caring, because you care for them, you are going to do well. You're going to have your competitive advantage, the people working for you. It's the same in your family. If you want to have cooperation in your family, the Emperor's 3 questions. The one you're with, whether it's your little child, your husband, your wife, whoever it is, your grandparent, if they're the one in front of you, they're the most important person in the world, please care for them. That's called mindfulness. It's called letting go of the past and the future. It's called focusing. All the techniques you've been learning in this meditation retreat. You take them and you use them according to the Emperor's 3 questions. you will be successful. And in your relationships, if you're with your partner, when you're with the partner, when you first get married, yeah, they are the most important person in the world for you. But after 2 or 3 years, it's only her again. It's only him. How many of you have been in a relationship like that, where you think your partner takes you for granted? You know how horrible that feels. It's important. The Emperor's 3 questions. The one you're with is the most important person in the world. Please care. And then you'll have a wonderful time with your husband or wife. You'll actually have success in your relationships, in your marriage, in your friendships, with your children. How often is it that children don't do what they're told? Why? Because their parents haven't really cared for them. I mean, spent time. Quality time. There's this old story I read some years ago about a man who came home from work. He came home late, he'd been working hard, he was so tired, as many of you are when you come home. After working hard, you've got to fight your way through the traffic, and you get back home, all you want to do is to relax. But his 6-year-old son said, "Daddy, how much do you earn per hour?" He said, "Oh, shut up, son, I'm tired." "Daddy, how many dollars do you earn each hour at work?" "Look, I told you, be quiet. I'm resting. It's got nothing to do with you." "Daddy, how much money do you make every hour?" And that was it. Because the daddy was tired, he was on a short fuse, as they said. He blew up at his son and said, "That's it. Get to your room. Stay. Don't ask me such stupid questions." So the poor little son went up to his room. He was grounded. When the father relaxed a bit more, he realized how unfair he'd been on his 6-year-old son. It wasn't his 6-year-old son's fault, it was just he was tired. So when he relaxed more, he decided to go up to his son's room and say sorry. He went up into that room, knocked on the door. "Can I come in?" "Yes." "I'm sorry, son. I blew up at you because I had a very difficult day at work. I'm very tired. So if you really want to know, I don't know why a 6-year-old son wants to know how much I earn at work, but it's actually $20 an hour." And the son smiled. And he looked at his father and said, "Can I borrow $10, Dad?" And his father almost exploded again. But because he was feeling remorseful about how he treated his son earlier, he said, "Okay, I don't know what a 6-year-old wants with $10, but here it is." And he gave a $10 Australian note to his son. And his son smiled and reached under his pillow and with coins and other notes got out another $10. He counted them in front of his father. 1, 2, 3, 10, $20. And he gave it to his father and said, "Daddy, can I please have 1 hour of your time?" Isn't that a sad story? But it's a story of our modern times. This child who had to buy attention of his father with $20. And now, please, if you want to have a happy family, if you want to look after your children, you can find that time. If you know about the present moment, how to let go, how to know priorities, how to be wise. And that way you will have good children. If you don't give that hour to your children now, you'll spend many hours worrying about your child later on when he doesn't do this and he doesn't do that and has all these problems and difficulties in life. It's an investment for their future and your peace of mind. So this is how we learn from our meditation. But when you're meditating here, please don't just leave it in this meditation hall. When you go home, take that meditation back there with you. So find a time, whether you've got a cupboard in your house, clean it out and that's your cupboard, and get your wife or your husband or even your kids to lock you in there every day. Even in schools in Australia, we teach meditation to schools. Every time we do this, one of my disciples who's a teacher does this, and it's so good. The first disciple who did this in her grade 6 in one of the schools, she had to be very careful. She didn't call it meditation because There were some Christians in that school who thought that might be religious, so she just called it quiet time. Exactly the same, but calling it quiet time. She gave the kids 5 minutes at the start of the year to meditate, quiet time. Of course, there's always 1 or 2 kids who would never close their eyes, look around and start giggling, but that only lasted a few days, and then they all settled into meditation. And they worked up to about 50 minutes or 20 minutes by the end of the year. And when I went to give a talk at that school, I had tea with the headmaster, the principal, and he was just praising this disciple, Kerry her name was, praising and praising and praising. He said, this meditation is so wonderful, he says. Because having been in the education system for so many years, being a principal, he said that class, you could actually see just how the learning improves, how the concentration improves. They're able to assimilate knowledge and use it so much more efficiently. He said he didn't believe in it at first, but he saw the results. And not only that, they had some interesting side effects as well. Whenever there was any problem in the class, some arguments, one of the children would always put their hands, Miss, can we have quiet time? And they'd stop and have quiet time for 5 minutes, and all of the tension in the classroom would disappear. It was a way of conflict resolution, as well as a way of learning. And also, I've taught you some loving kindness. That loving kindness flows automatically from a peaceful mind. They all found that those children in the class actually cared for each other much more. They were more sensitive. If ever there was a child having a hard time, others would go around that child and help them and care for them. It was natural. So even in a classroom you can teach meditation. So sometimes you say, well, should I force my children to meditate? Actually, you don't need to. In many occasions, some of my disciples who have children, they set up their meditation area in their house. Sometimes it's just 2 cushions next to their bed where they can meditate in the morning. One of them told me that they had 2 children, a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old. And they had a fight in front of the house. You know, kids are being kids, a bit of jealousy. Someone said this, someone punched them there or something. And this little girl, only 4 years of age, ran into the house crying. She ran into the house, and guess where she ran? Into the parents' bedroom and sat on the meditation stool. She knew that it was a place of quiet and peace to go when there's any problems or trouble. No one told her that. She felt it. And so again, the parents told me, he said, it's amazing. I don't need to tell my child whenever she's upset. She just runs in there and wants to sit on my meditation place. Has the energy. So having a little meditation place in your home is very important. A place where you can sit when you're upset. It's much cheaper to put a little bit of your room as your temple, as your meditation area, when you get upset, than pay all the fees for a divorce lawyer. When you have an argument with your husband, with your wife, instead of arguing back, that will get you nowhere. Go and run to your meditation corner or your cupboard. Sit on there and be quiet. And you find afterwards it's so easy to make up. So these are strategies for life. Meditation is not just for the temple, not just for monks, it's for everybody. That's why it's just so popular, gaining in popularity. So much so that's why we're building a meditation centre in Perth. It's not because we're building a meditation centre and then want to get the people. The people are already there. They're queuing up. I gave one meditation retreat a year ago. We were going to open the registrations at 6:45. There was already a queue by 6:30. The people who came after 6:30 joined the end of the queue. They didn't get on. They were just too late. You had to come not on time, half an hour early to get on the retreat. Sometimes it's like that. And why is it like that? Because it works. You get incredible peace, wisdom, energy, love, kindness. And hopefully many of you have got a taste of that on this retreat. On this retreat, I've taught it in a different way than you may have been used to before. This is a kind, soft, compassionate retreat because I know from experience, if I encourage you rather than make you afraid, I get much more out of you. If I had made this a strict retreat, everybody had to be here by 5 o'clock, otherwise I'd send people to your room and embarrass you in public. You had to sit absolutely still for 50 minutes and then walk, and anybody not sitting properly, get the Zen sit, whack. You would not have got so peaceful. you would not have sat so long. Even I saw that sometimes at 10 o'clock it's supposed to be lights out, but people still kept on meditating. Sometimes outside, sometimes up the top there. I noticed this when I had a strict schedule. When it got to 10 o'clock, everyone left. Because they were afraid they had to be up at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock. If I didn't go to bed now, I won't be up in the morning. When I took all of those constraints off, made it more free, people would meditate according to their nature. And they'd always meditate much more. They had no fear. Okay, they can meditate to 11 or 12, 1 o'clock, they can always sleep later on. When they weren't pushing themselves, when they weren't having fear from me, there was more letting go, more release, more peace. So I did this for a purpose, as I always do, to learn you how to find peace. It's not with controlling, it's with letting go. Just because I didn't control you on this retreat, I didn't shout at you, I didn't tell you, you must sit now. Every time you went into that interview room, I was always encouraging you. I never called any of you stupid. Always encouraging, always supporting. That is the way to get the best out of people. If you have a business, encourage your staff. Very, very rarely criticize them. Encourage them. Focus on their good qualities, build those up. You will find that they will want to work for you. In your relationship, encourage your partner, encourage your children. Then they will want to work harder. There's nothing worse than having a boss always criticizing you, always telling you what you're doing wrong. You don't want to work for them anymore. If you do work, you're just so afraid you can't really relax and do your very best. In a relationship, husband, wife, even kids, encourage, and they will always try and do their best for you. They won't be afraid of you. They will know that you are on their side. And this is the way I've taught the retreat. You haven't forced your meditation. At least those of you who've got success in meditation haven't forced it. It's come naturally. You've encouraged yourself. And you've got results. In the same way you learn how to get results out of your mind in meditation, the same method works to get results out of your relationships. The same method works to get results out of your company. My company, my monastery, is very successful. So is my meditation. So is my relationships with you, my friendship. I use the same principle. It's called Dhamma. So by making these points, you can see that this teaching is not just for the temple. It's for your daily life and also for your business as well. So what you've learned here this week is not just for your Nibbana, it's what's going to happen till you get that Nibbana. It's for the journey as well as the destination. So you'll find that what you do here will give you much happiness and peace. Sometimes you don't realize this until you go home. Sometimes you don't realize how much you've changed. Sometimes it's your family and relations tell you how much you've changed. There was a disciple who always wanted to go on one of our weekend retreats. He couldn't afford, actually it wasn't couldn't afford, his wife wouldn't let him go on a long retreat. But he kept on asking his wife, can we go on a weekend retreat? His wife said, no, you can't. Because the weekend retreats on that time of the week in Australia, that was the time the family did the shopping. There was all these events for the children, sports, swimming. That's when they had to do the housework, the washing, the maintenance of the house, the gardening work. And so the wife said, look, there's too much going on the weekend. You know, I've got to take the kids to tennis. I've got to go to the shops. I've got to, you've got to clean out the garage. There's too much to do. You can't go. So he never went. He asked again the next time, can I go? He kept on asking. He was very persistent. And one day, he was so persistent, his wife got so fed up with him. She said, okay, you go off and leave me with the housework, with the kids, with the washing, with the cleaning. Go and be selfish. You go off. So he did. Now the point was that after the retreat was finished, it was only a weekend, ended on Sunday afternoon. When he got home, he was such a changed husband. He was just so nice, so soft. His wife was so impressed that when he turned up for the next retreat, he told us. His wife was so impressed that when he turned up for the next retreat, he told us he didn't need to even ask his wife. His wife gave him the money and told him to go. It's true. It was in his wife's her interest. So if you've got a grumpy old husband, the next time there's a retreat, give him the money and tell him, you must go. Because it works. Even many times, some women come to my meditation retreats, or meditation evenings, the classes. And so often they say, I never felt like coming today. My kids told me to come. Mummy, you must go to your meditation. I don't feel I'm tired, children. Mummy, you go. You're a much nicer mummy when you come back from meditation. And it's true. This is what it does for you. And you'll notice this, or rather your friends and relations will notice how much you've changed. Not only does it heal your body, lower your blood pressure, free your cholesterol, take away your AIDS, make sure you don't get heart disease, clean up your liver, heal your kidneys, let go of your migraine, everything you can possibly do. This is the best medicine for you. And most importantly, gets rid of your mental disease, which is the cause of the whole thing. Gives you happiness, gives you peace, gives you freedom. So please remember what you've learnt on this retreat. Especially how to be happy, how to be still. You don't need to do anything except just relax and let go. Make peace. Allow things to happen. You've got a little way of doing it. Present moment awareness, silence, focusing on the breath. Doesn't matter where the breath is. You don't control the breath. You just let it happen. And you find when you know this trick of letting things happen, relaxing, leaving things alone, allowing it to be, how easy it all is. You know how to meditate. You realize how the Buddha meditated. Why the monks were happy, why they were at peace, and why so many people wanted to see those monks and be around them. Maybe just not to meditate, but just to get off on their energy. Their peaceful, easy, kind, compassionate, non-judgmental energy. That can be you. If you meditate this way, you'll be far harsher, more soft, more kind. And you'll find that the people you meet in life, the people you work with, the people you live with, will benefit from your peace and kindness. Which is why we talk about sharing of merits. Sometimes we think we have to do some chant to share the merits of our actions, of meditating. I will tell you now, whether you do the chant or you don't do the chant, many, many beings will benefit from the merits you've accumulated while you've done this meditation retreat. What I'm talking about is the people left at home, your husband, your wife, your children, your friends. They will benefit from you being a more peaceful, kind, sensitive being. You're a much easier person to live with after a retreat. You are much more efficient at work. Your boss will benefit from your increased clarity. Even your medical fund will benefit because they don't have to pay out all this money for when you get hospitalized. In fact, you will find that you are a much healthier, better person for the benefit and happiness of the whole world. Even when you drive home, you'll find you'll be letting people in front of you in the traffic, please come in before me. That's called spreading of merits. Other people benefit from your goodness, your tranquility, your peace. Even to the point, this is true in California because we have a monastery there and the monks tell me this. If you live in the state of California and you've done a meditation retreat like this, you can get the monks or the teachers to fill out a form and sign it, saying you're a meditator. You get a reduction in the money you have to pay for your health insurance. You do. Because it's well known that if you meditate, you're healthier. And so the health insurance, it's reason, it's medically proved, so you're of a lesser risk. And the health companies understand that, and give you less of a premium, because they know they're not going to need to spend so much money on meditators. See, that's the benefits of this thing. So you are sharing your merits just for who you are, for how you've grown, for how you've become a more pure and beautiful, peaceful person. However, even though there's a natural sharing of merits, out of compassion for the world, you meditated this week, let alone the compassion for yourself. You're a much better person, and people will feel that and know that. But it's not only that, sometimes that we, at the end of a retreat like this, we like to actually to share the merits, even specifically by doing a chant. And I'm going to ask you to do that chant in a minute or so. When we're doing this chant, it's not just the people you meet, but especially the people you'll never meet again, at least not in this life. Departed relations. It's this time when I ask that we remember those people, our parents, grandparents, aunties and uncles, teachers as well, who have helped us so much. Without them, we would not be here. We also share the merits of gratitude, even though these people may be alive, to all the people who constructed this temple, which made it possible for us to practice meditation and listen to the Dharma here. We share the merits. We have an act of gratitude for all the organizers of this retreat, the people behind the scenes, especially all those people who brought the delicious food, who cooked it and cleaned up for us. We pay gratitude, share our merits with all beings who've helped and served and made this possible. I share my merits with my teacher Ajahn Chah, even though I'm convinced he was an arahat. He doesn't need merits anymore, still, as an act of gratitude and kindness, knowing without such an inspiring teacher I wouldn't be here. We share merits with all these beings. It's an act of gratitude and kindness, which softens our hearts and makes us even more beautiful when we go home. Sharing of merits connects us with those to whom we still got a great debt. I've got a debt to my teacher, Ajahn Chah, but he told me you can never pay off that debt by giving donations or saying thank you. You told me the only way I can pay off my debt for his teachings would be to one day to live those teachings and be able to teach others. So my coming to this retreat and teaching you is just paying off my debt to my teacher. That's the only way you pay off debt to anyone who's helped you, by going out and helping somebody else. So if I've been your teacher for these last 9 days, you cannot pay off that debt even with billions of ang paos. You cannot pay off the debt by coming up and saying thank you. The debt which you owe for all the teachings this week can only be paid off when you go and help somebody else. When you care for them, when you relieve their suffering as I've relieved yours. That's called sharing of merits. Okay, so we better hurry on here now. So we're going to do the sharing of merits, idang me. As we're doing this, I want you to really do this properly this time. Not just a chant, but think of those people. So before we even start the chanting, I want you to close your eyes. To close your eyes and think of those people. Grandparents, ancestors, uncles and aunties, teachers, even brothers and sisters. Teachers especially, alive or dead. All the people who built this hall. All the people who served you food. All the people who managed this retreat. All beings who helped me. I'm now going to share my merits with you. They are all my relations. Nyati means those we know. Please chant with me with full mindfulness. Idam me nyatina hotu sukhita hontu yatayo. Idam me nyatina hotu sukhita hontu yatayo. Idam me nyatina hotu sukhita hontu yatayo. Now pause. And feel the merits flow to your relations, your loved ones, the people who literally are worthy of such gratitude, the people who helped, served you, brought you up, cared for you, taught you. I share my merits with you. May you be happy and well. Okay, you can put your hands down. Now, at the end of a retreat, it's like the end of a time together. There's a time together, there may be a few people who have irritated you. People who have coughed when you're just about to get the nimitta. People who have snored in your dormitory. And there are people who have talked when it's supposed to be noble silence. Now we have noble forgiveness. Noble forgiveness is stronger than noble silence. So we're going to forgive everybody. So it means that we go from this retreat just with no bad feeling whatsoever in any which way to anybody at all. An act of forgiveness. Now you can see the chanting which we have on the page 12, the back of this brochure. But I'm going to change it, as I love changing things. Never do the same thing twice is my motto. In here we've got acharya pamadena. Please, I want you to change this, because I'm not going to be asking forgiveness of me. I've already given you forgiveness for the 3 time zones. Now what you do now is to have kalyana mitte. Kalyana mitte means noble friends. We're going to ask forgiveness of each other. I am a teacher as long as I'm sitting up here. This is only a role, it's not a person. Now I'm going to change my role to being just kalyana mitta, noble friend. So we're going to do the chant kalyana mitte pamadena. Is that okay? Okay. So we do the Namo Tassa first of all, facing each other because we're asking forgiveness of each other. Please chant along with me the Namo Tassa first. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Kalyana mitte pamadena dvaratayena katang sabang aparadang kamatuno bante. Kalyana mitte pamadena dvaratayena katang sabang aparadang kamatuno bante. Kalyana mitte pamadena dwaratayena katang sabang aparadang kamatuno bante. So, venerable, or not venerable sirs, it's noble friends. May we forgive each other for any wrongdoing done by body, speech or mind by the three doors. May we each forgive one another. Sadhu, 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 sadhu. Very good. So just before ending the retreat, I should give you the 5 precepts, because you've taken off the 8 precepts and now you'll have 5 precepts. You've already gone for the 3 refuges, so I'm just going to go straight into panatipata. And when you're holding up your hands, I'm going to be watching your fingers to make sure that all the... Okay? I will say it first. When I'm finished, you say it after me. Panatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Adinadana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Kamesu miccachara veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Musawada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Sura meraya majapamatatana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Imani panchasikhapadani silena sukating yanti silena bhoga sampada silena niputing yanti tasma silang visodaye. Sadhu, sadhu. Now the last little bit of ceremony is for me to give you my blessing, a very short blessing of great power to each one of you to protect you. May the Buddha, Dhamma and the Sangha bring you lots of peace and happiness, being the highest gift of all, the freedom that is Nibbana. Nati me saranang anyang buddho me saranang varang etena satcha vajena sotite hotu sabada. Nati me saranang anyang dhammo me saranang varang etena satcha vajena sotite hotu sabada. Nati me saranang anyang sangho me saranang varang etena satcha vajena sotite hotu sabada. Okay, so now the retreat is over. We're going to probably do some photographs. Is there any announcements from the organizers? Some organizing retreats. Oh, the only way you can say thank you is if that is your Nibbana, which you're offering to me. Okay, very good, very good. Very good. Okay, I'll see you the next retreat, the next place. The world is very small. If I don't see you in Perth, I'll see you in K. If I don't see you in KL, I'll see you in Penang. If I don't see you in Penang, I'll see you in Singapore. If I don't see you in Penang, I'll see you in Nibbana. Take care.